good. Because yeah, I've had trouble finding a craft one. So
I'm going to plug these in. Hang on. They're going to take a second to heat up.
yeah, okay. And let me get a pen. I'll write that down.
I think that buying supplies specifically for encaustics are better than trying to modify supplies
Yeah,
that you don't know what they are.
Okay, so
hold on 1 second.
Encaustic iron. And, Leah, what was the name of the company that had the Hangar iron?
That's what the name of the company was, Hangar.
Okay.
But you know what? You know what? If you just go, are you still using fineartstore.com as a resource?
No, I haven't, just because it takes so long and I have to pay for shipping, but I'll look on there also.
Yeah, they would definitely have it. And the reason that I send people there is it just sort of helps you compartmentalize, you know, all the tools that are recommended for the process that you're doing. Because, you know, if you start introducing a bunch, I mean, maybe you find a new, like a miracle tool or something like super, you know, but like, you know, when you're starting out, you know, maybe you just want to go with a solid that you know will work, you know.
Right, exactly. Right. Okay. I'll check there and I'll Google that. All right. Or maybe we'll just
you have to kind of, all of these tools, you know, come with learning curves and sort of, you know, skill set. So practice, you know, and having extra boards around, you know, just for practice is always good.
Yeah. Okay.
So that you can just, you know, be kind of watching, you know, what the tool is doing.
Right.
And getting a feel for it. It's kind of, you know, like driving a new car, or, you know, anything motor skill oriented. You can just kind of like test it out and practice. I'm just looking for some art that might be a good, I'm trying to look for, okay, so here's something that's kind of cool. And I have some bigger ones. Hang on 1 second. I'm going to go in a bigger pile just to get some good examples. You can also use your stencils with the iron, which is cool. So you could actually literally like melt and reform. So let's talk about that too. Hang on.
Okay. Wow. All right.
All right, I got lots of good examples now. All right.
Good. Okay.
So, and let me grab a stencil too, because then, all right. So, like this piece, has a lot of texture here. This one has like sort of that look of what I call like textured but flat. So when I run my hand over it, it's basically flat, right?
Wow.
So
I just haven't gotten it. I just can't do it yet. Wow.
Right. So one of the things that I do to get that is I do a lot of razor blade shaving, which, heat gunning, using the heat gun doesn't tend to work for me, because what the heat gun does is dilutes, right? Literally liquefies your texture. Okay, so I don't want, I don't like my textures to be puddled, you know, like smoothed out, like softened like that. I just don't like it unless I just feel like, unless I managed to get one that was fairly like sharp, and then I just wanted like a little bit flatter. But I still think my go-to on technique would possibly be a razor blade or a scraping tool before I would use the heat gun. So like this part right here is fairly like bumpy, but not like really 3D because it's just bumpy. So I could use the iron on this to just kind of smooth it out. The first thing you want to do, so both these irons are heated up. So the first thing, this one's smoking. So that means that it's just too hot. So it has a little thermostat. It has a little thermostat on it. If I can, so I'm going to turn it down. I think it goes, I'm going to assume this way is cooler. I'm going to turn it down. It's just too hot. So I'm going to turn it to like one of the lower settings. Like it looks like it goes up to 270. So I'm going to turn it all the way down. Okay. So this one works. I'm going to work on this. Can you see okay?
Yeah, I can. No, it's good. It's a good angle.
I'm going to work. This area is a little bit bumpy for me here and here. So I'm just going to work. Now this one I think swirls. So you're going to put it on there and it's going to take a minute, you know, to kind of, and then it basically swirls, right? So
nice.
It kind of gives you like a curve. So you see how it's swishing? So it's curving. Now it's really only hitting those top high parts, which I like because it's not it's just the raised surface.
Yeah.
And it gives you a kind of a nice like watery effect.
Great. That's what I need.
Yeah. And I'm working on in a circular motion. Okay. So that just transitioned this to very, very smooth. Now it did create this nice like 3D space right here where this is a lower level and this is a hot level. So there's like an outline here and an inside space. It also smoothed this whole area, you know, to pretty much to glass. So it still gives me a lot of texture. Also, if you notice, there was a lighter color under here. So by taking down that top color and spreading it out, I brought the light from underneath. And you have to remember too, like, I know that beginning encaustic artists always feel shy about actually creating a lot of layers. But you sort of have to, what I call trust in the process, where your layers are going to start to accumulate to interesting material. So don't be afraid to just layer and not really know what it's going to do. Okay. Because you have the opportunity to go back, right? Yeah. So you have to remember that a lot of this waxing sort of gets better as you accumulate and sort of add and subtract, right? It's not just going to go on 1, 2 and look amazing. It's more like when you get to 3, 4, 5 and start to blend those layers and maybe take some away, right? Yeah. Also, what I like is sort of when I use the iron here, I have 2 different textures, right? So I have now this more bumpy, peeking out, right? And then this layer to me looks like it's laying over top of this layer. So this one's going back because of the difference in texture. So that's like another thing that's nice too. So I used it in like a circular. Now you could use it just the point. Like you can also probably, you know, burn, you know, use it from like this upside down and put little, put little holes in it. You know, and I like these types of varying size, right? And I like to incise in the wax. So, right, you could probably also like, you know, draw. It's an awkward tool to draw with, actually. They do sell heat tips, you know, heated tools with tips that you can draw into the wax if you want to do line drawings. Now, I think I turned it down too much, so I'm going to turn it up a little bit. Okay. Because I want to work on this area.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm working on it in a circle because it's kind of shaped like that.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like I'm exploring the layer, what's happening as I'm smoothing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm seeing some things happening that I like as I'm taking this top layer down, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you were working on a photo, you could be like holding it and swirling, right? And getting back to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I
look.
can see your reflection, so it seems really smooth now. Yeah.
Well, right. So what happened is it got really smooth.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able, so this whole area got really smooth, really smooth.
Yeah.
And more translucent, right?
Yeah.
But the color kind of spread out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's all this one color, which I don't know that I love that color. But again, I do like where this kind of overlaid this other color.
Mm-hmm.
So I could now use like a razor blade or a scraping tool. I really like my palette knife. I really like these palette knives. And I could kind of, you know, scrape a little bit off to kind of create some type of floral, floral shape.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this is where things could get really interesting, is where I start to go into this smooth layer and reveal in some type of cool shape what's underneath, right? So I'm making just these kind of like leafy shapes, which are just two arched lines, right? So this tends to be a good shape, and this is a great tool for that shape, these kind of like, leafy lines. And so what happens is that you really start to deal with layer, that archaeological kind of like, what did you start with? What's underneath? What are you showing? What textures are you using to show it? So of course, for me, like I automatically started to make like so this, I did this reveal, right?
Yeah.
And I did this with the palette knife, and then this layer that was just that smooth kind of gray layer now creates positive and negative space. Right. And down here, I started this turns into a flower. Yeah. So for me, I mean,
wow, that's incredible.
Everything turns floral for me, right? So, and then I could take a pigment stick, right? And I could start to define these shapes. So here's all those little holes I made. And I just start to think about dark and light. So this is light, so I'm going to put dark around it, right? So think in opposites. If you can try to start to think about opposites, like if you have something light, put something dark next to it. If you have something dark, put something light next to it, right? If you want them to separate. I mean, that's what we do in photography, right? We put the light on the subject, right? And we try to take the background down by making it darker, right? So we start to create the depth through the lighting. So it's the same thing here, right? And then I'm going to wipe this off a little bit, right, as I blend it, right? But now that made this piece pop forward, right? I could take the shading up here a little bit just to sort of show off the textures. You can see where it's smooth.
Wow.
All right, now I'm going to get a towel. Hold on. I'm going to get a towel and rub it in. Hold on. So remember I had these little holes in here, right? So then, right. So now, right. So now I can kind of, use the pigment stick to blend, right? Between dark and light.
And there's a flower there.
Yeah, there's a flower there. I mean, yeah, all my things turn floral. I mean, I don't, it's just like what right. So there's a flower there, right? And then the darkness kind of made it just, have more dimension, right? And the colors are pretty because they're sort of those lavendery greens, right? Now, this is pretty thin right here. So I could decide to either put a light color in here or just leave it because it's such a pretty kind of like light brown.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then this form, I think has enough depth because it has like the incising in, you know, the incising in it. So that gives it detail. But I kind of like the way this little area looks.
Yeah. Oh, that is so cool. Okay.
Okay. So, you know, then you can play around with, you know, and then you could accent this with some other colors. I could put purple in here. I could, because this is like kind of purple and green. I could put green in here. Okay. So let's now, let's look at this. Let's look at a bumpier texture and let's use the other iron. Okay. And it looks really pretty actually from the side. I don't know if you can get the side look, but it looks really pretty. Can you see how it looks really pretty because it's kind of, it's kind of swirly, right? And then it's like cut into like linoleum cut. It looks more like a piece of linoleum.
Yeah.
Like a printer's block, right?
Yeah. I really like how you did that. I mean, you just created this whole scene just oh my God.
And you could use like little, you know, pottery tools to kind of like work on any particular area. Also, I use my finger too. Like if an edge is just too sharp, you can just kind of use your finger to take that edge down a tiny bit. I can't even remember what this picture was, honestly. Okay. So this one has a lot of stencil texture, right? Do you see this?
Oh, wait, that it's too high. It's off the screen. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, I see that. Okay.
So, right. And I'd have to even figure out. Okay. So this one actually goes like this. It's a vertical. There's actually a figure here. So, let's just focus on this and let's see if I can flat iron down the stencil.
Okay.
And then the other thing you can do is that while you're flat ironing, you can add another stencil because basically when you have wax on the piece, you have material there, right? So you could think about sort of recycling the material. Does that make sense? So if you liquefy the wax you have here,
right. Okay.
and so it's just another way of getting a pattern or a floral design, or so you could literally lay the stencil down on top of it and sort of melt up into the stencil. I'll demonstrate it. Okay, so first let's
wait. I lost that last sentence. I lost the last sentence because it froze a little bit.
You can put the stencil on the artwork and you're basically like using the material you already have on the board to put into the stencil. Okay. So now technically this iron has another little handle. So I'm just going to use it. I don't have the handle right now. So I'm just going to go gently over the stencil and it's going to go flatter, right? And I'm going to use it in the same way. And I use them in a circle. So you can use it up and down.
Always moving.
Yeah. Well, if you keep it still, you're just going to get the pattern of the actual iron.
We don't want that, especially if there are holes.
No, you're not going to use that iron. You're going to return that iron.
I'll return it.
So this is really, really pretty. It's just the stencil is not really, it's just flattening. So it's flattening and just keeping its form, but flattening. And it just looks really beautiful.
Wow. That would have taken a long time for you to do the razor scraping.
It's just like a different, this is actually, it's like an easier, it's just like maybe an easier, and it just looks so pretty. It looks like it just got like sucked up in there. And I can feel, look, it's so beautiful now. It doesn't have any of those like bumpy edges.
Wow, but I see the texture. I see what you mean.
Yeah. So just kind of like blended these two layers together as one. It unified them. Right. And then this one too has, and it goes from low to high. I use them kind of on the lower settings.
Okay.
So I'm going to go.
So more time, lower temperature, but more time. Go over
I
it.
just like to go slow, low and slow.
Okay. Low, slow. Okay.
Yeah. And like this area up here is bumpy. You can tell because I'm kind of like having, and I'm just kind of going back and forth, and it's going to get flatter. All right. Now let's see if I can do the.
Wow. Yeah, I can see it from here. Yeah.
So it's kind of nice. It's like really like, it's just kind of like compress. If you can think about compression, you know, and like flattening the layers together, right? So that's what it really does. It keeps the form, but just flattens it into the underneath layer. For whatever reason, I don't know where. You'll have to get to know your iron as far as temperatures that you like. All right, so let me see if I can get it to melt to a stencil-y point. I don't have anything else really to, but I do personally like it to look textured, but actually really flat. There's something about those really rough, waxy edges that I don't like.
Oh, while you do, I have to get this call. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Hello? Hi. Yeah, I'm in the middle of a class. Is there something I need to know about this afternoon? Yes? No, just tell me. Okay. Okay. Oh, why don't I come there? It's probably easier because we have the dog. Yeah. Okay. So I'll be there at 2. Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. Bye.
I'm gonna grab, so I feel like in a way.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, so I feel like in a way, like here, I kind of went too far and it got like a little bit muddy, right? So
yeah, I see that.
So there's
Yeah.
two things I can do here. One is I can add another stencil. The other is I can kind of go in there like I did before, and I can sort of start to see the shapes, and I can create this, you know, this positive, right? Like by removing, right? So I can see this kind of botanical, you know, stencil-y shape happening here. So I can kind of, right? I can kind of start to.
Nice. So you're making the leaves. Wow.
Right. And then if you have this indented space, you know that you can fill these inside spaces with another color of wax or with pigment stick. Right. And then again, like if you want to, whatever you do, like if you do a deep line, you can always kind of blend it too, right? So you can kind of use these tools back and forth between, you know, smoothing, removing, right? Drawing, painting, right? So it's like this repetition. You just kind of have to really focus on the flow. And
I'm really seeing the weaving that you've been talking about with what were you doing here. It was harder to do it with the just with scraping. It's partly because it's so cold. It's just hard to get the wax working. So yeah, this is really cool.
All right, so let me add a stencil. So now you have sort of what I call this, you know, really nice layering effect where you're, you know, you have things that are coming forward and things that are going in, and then you have texture behind, right? So you have to kind of trust your intuition and follow your vision, right? So there's a little bit of that happening here too. Now that's why I use both photographs, like floral forms, wallpapers, you know, and I kind of like to do a diverse collage underneath that's not just a photo, right? So that really started to happen for me, you know, years ago, where I wasn't getting enough from just one photo. And I felt like I had to put other elements into the photo and into the collage, like we kind of did with the tissue paper. Like I just felt like I needed other references. Okay, so that one was pretty swirly, right?
Wow.
So it's hot now and it's really swirly. So if it's like maybe too swirly, you can kind of break that line up by using another tool and like sort of scraping back to the tool. Like scrape, right? So I swirled it so much so I can kind of, now I can go back and sort of almost like disassemble the swirl, right? So kind of break up the swirl by scraping in another direction, right?
Wow. This is really cool. I'm really
so
liking
right, and you and right. So but remember, you have to have a couple layers on here because you need material to work with.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's like sitting down to read without a bunch of books, right? It would be, you know, so you have to like kind of accumulate your material in order to be able to manipulate like this. So you can see there's a light color under here. There's another color. There's like a photo under. So it's the relationship of all of these sort of pieces together.
Yeah.
So that the viewer is assimilating, you know, these forms and lights and darks from the top. All right, let me try the stencil. I'm going to grab a stencil. I'll be right back. So this is kind of interesting because it's a dirty stencil, right? So what's going to happen? It's got this red on it.
Some of it's going to melt in.
Yeah, I'm totally going to melt it in. So I'm going to lay it down on the top.
Cool.
And I'm going to melt it in. So I'm going to take my iron, right? I'm going to put it on the stencil and I'm going to, yep, it's going to be beautiful.
Yeah, I like it. Sometimes you want to have a dirty stencil and oh, wow, that's kind of cool. Looking through. So yeah, that has to be a pretty low heat so it doesn't melt, the stencil.
Yeah, you don't want, well, just don't leave it on there. Keep moving it around. Okay, so here we go. Right? And did you see how I spread it here?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
That's really beautiful.
And, yeah, cool.
All right, so here we go.
Whoa, that's fantastic. I love it.
Okay, so now what I would do is I wouldn't stencil, I wouldn't put the iron directly on here. I would possibly put another layer of wax on here and then I could stencil. Now I don't have wax today because I moved my palettes, but again, like just to demonstrate, if I wanted this to be a little bit smoother, you know, I can use, you know, and that's, so that's really pretty. Do you see right here where they kind of like
spread out? Yeah. Yeah. Melted in. So would you also put another layer of wax and then use the heat gun to fuse it, or are you using?
Yeah. But look, do you see what it does? So
yeah.
See how you can kind of like blur it. It's like, you know, you can take it and move it.
This is a whole nother art form in itself. Wow.
It is. And you can use it. Yeah. I mean, you can.
And it becomes more translucent. Yeah. Wow.
It's just a totally different sort of style. It's very like blend, more like watercolory.
Yeah. Wow.
Right. And then I can do, let me try a white. So I'm kind of drawn to like the whiteness behind here. Yeah. So like I could do, you know, I could start painting this wax, you know, lightening it with pigment sticks or pan pastels.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can change the color, right?
Yeah.
So when I looked at your work, you know, same thing I would say that you just need to work on is kind of just using different colors, you know, lights and darks to kind of just get the flowers to have a little bit more realistic toning and enhance their shape, you know. So what I do, you know, I kind of put more than I need on. I think that's my general approach. And then I sort of just start to blend it back.
Okay.
Right. And then it's like kind of like, so because I'm using the color underneath.
That is so beautiful. I love it.
And right, even if I just take white, like a light color and a dark color to these flowers, because I have so much pink, then I could just sort of think about toning the pink. Right. And if I get in trouble, I can always wipe it off. Right. But I can just sort of start to tone this pink just with light and dark.
Wow.
Right. And then blend it, because the pigment stick is covering up the purple, like the magenta, but then it's also kind of suggesting that it has light hitting it or shadows on it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then of course, like for all the leaves, I'm going to need to bring a green in. So I have to be very careful what green I put on this. Now I could use other colors to represent leaves. So some of the other colors I could use to represent leaves could be yellow and brown. So that's an option too. You don't always have to use green, even though in reality something's green. Right? I always like to try to, because green is a hard color. You know? So I always like to think about what else. And really the magic for me, Pam, happens when the wax is heated and cooled. So really all I'm trying to do now is just sort of accentuate the magic of the medium. You know what I mean? Like I'm really just kind of like in awe of what it can do. And so now I'm just going like, oh, how can I make what you did look better? Right? I'm going to try this fluorescent green. Like what the hell?
It's like, wow. It's like a lime green. That should be cool. That should be really nice with the magenta.
I know. Well, sometimes you just got to go for it.
Yeah.
And again, like it's about how these two colors are mixing together and how the textures are, you know, so you can paint on the actual stencil or around the outside of the stencil. You know, sometimes that's, it's sort of equally important to blend these. You don't want to feel like anything is just stuck on here. You want to feel like these relationships are, you know, unfolding and like joining together, right? They're sort of.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. I love it.
So you never know what this other color is going to look like on something until you actually put it on there. Right? So you can put it on there, blend it in, decide if you like it. But see, like I love it in these, it's a great accent color. And I love what it did over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And did you see how I didn't put it just in one spot? Now, also, I like to blend it, right? So if I put the green on, I blend it in. I'm also going to like put this other neutral white in there a little bit on top of the green. Like I'm never just going to use, right? So here I am just focusing on like 3 or 4 colors. I mean, the one major color, which was magenta, and now I'm using this green and this neutral white and Payne's gray to kind of tone it.
That's not black. That's Payne's gray that you
It's
put
not
in?
black. I really don't like to paint. I'm really trying not to paint with black.
Yeah, yeah.
Black is just a game ender. It's like the end of the world. Like it's just, there's nothing you can't, you know, it's just the end. Like I don't really want to use it. It's a wall, right? You can't see through it. You can't do anything. You don't have anything to argue. You know, you don't have, it's not, unless you're making like nice grays, it just is too, I think it's just too harsh. I don't want that.
Yeah.
So now as I paint outside and around, like the other areas are starting to make more sense, right? Because I'm integrating them by using the same colors on the stencil and around this area. I have no idea really what it looks like, but I'm just doing whatever. And now
No,
you can,
it looks great. It really does. I just love the effect. Wow.
now wait, this actually goes like, wait. Oh yeah, it actually goes like this.
I don't see the figure. You said that
She's over here. She's over here.
Is that her face?
She's got like, oh, I just put a big circle on her face. But I actually thought that was a flower when it was upside down. So I'm fine with that. Like,
no, but that's fantastic. Yeah.
I don't tend to like I don't tend to care if they disappear. You know, like let them disappear as far as I'm concerned. You know, if they blend in and they're disappearing nicely and it looks beautiful, like it's fine with me.
Yeah. Right.
I think you just have to let go of your commitment to your photo. You know, a lot of people just
I know. Yeah.
So connected, and they, you know, to their photo, and they've worked so hard on the photo, they don't want to like cover it up. So like, there's a lot of things that are working for me.
Yeah.
This flower is not working for me at all. So this flower, this one right here doesn't make any sense. So it has to make more sense than that. So because of the direction of the light. So if the light's coming here, it's going to hit here and it's going to hit here. So what I did with the painting doesn't make sense. So I had to take that back. So the lightest part is going to be up here. And then maybe it needs a little bit of that green, because if I want it to feel like it's connected, it needs to have a little bit of that reflective light in here.
Yeah.
You know, that makes more sense, because this is here. And then I'm determining that this is coming forward and this is going back. And the light is hitting here and here and like here, right? So that makes
also that whole area in the center with all those swirls in the center. The light is there. It's white, so the light's hitting there too.
Right. And then you can just kind of like fine tune it, you know, and it doesn't need that much. Like maybe that's enough. Like, you know, like let people's imagination, don't let them figure it. You know. That's
the 1%, 1 second.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of just like hinting. It's like hinting at something. It's like when it's like when you really want something, you kind of tell everybody you want. I did this one time with this ring. We were on vacation. I really wanted this ring. And so I told everybody that my people, that I wanted this ring. And I kind of made it a test to see who would get it for me. It was sort of funny. And it ended up being my mom that bought me the ring, which was fine. But I was sort of disappointed that it wasn't my husband. You know what I mean?
Sometimes subtle. Some people don't get subtle.
No, I get it. But it was just kind of like, I intentionally sort of made this thing. It was fun. It was kind of interesting. Anyway, you can always, put it to the test. All right.
That is so lovely. I feel like I've got a lot to work with here.
Well, yeah, it's like a totally different way of applying a stencil, and also, and don't be afraid to go back, try both, like put it on and razor blade it. The iron does become, like, all of these encaustic techniques, I feel like the iron becomes too recognizably the iron.
Oh, really? Oh,
I do. So I don't like to use it only. That it's just like, it's sort of like that only thing. Like I like to use it occasionally, or I don't want my work to be like, oh yeah, she irons it. You know what I mean? Like I don't,
or like all use all stencil. Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah, I don't want my work to be all stenciled. I don't want it to be, all so easily categorized. So I use the iron periodically. But I should probably use it more, because it is pretty cool.
It's very cool. Yeah. I love the way you were able to, it just changes the look.
Well, it changes the look, right? It makes it look more liquidy, which I think you're gonna like.
Yeah, I think the other thing that's attractive right now is it's been so cold out here on the porch that even midday when I try to work at midday, it's so I even the pigment sticks, I have to put the heat gun on the pigment sticks to get them to melt, and it I feel like I'm fighting the materials, and
Well, you are. You're fighting the elements, and the winter sucks. I mean, my body hurt. I just don't feel good in the winter because I have like arthritis in my hands. Like,
ooh, wow.
I just don't feel good in the winter, but you know,
Yeah, so
uh,
I'm working,
it
but the
won't last
like the
forever.
iron, you know, I'd have more working time with the heat, so yeah.
Yeah, let's try.
Uh,
I'm gonna try this other. I'm just gonna try this other stencil. So if I just lay the stencil down and I have wax here,
mhm.
I think I have some. I like the dirt on the stencil, so
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
can sort of get it, either get what I have on here in there, or I can get what's underneath to melt up.
Mhm, mhm, cool.
So yeah, it's kind of
I
a
can
fun.
see it
It's kind
melting,
of,
yeah.
and it does make these fun sort of like, and then you have material on the iron. You can swish it around.
Cool, alright, let's see. Ooh,
This one's nice. I like
yeah.
the dark on the light. You know,
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
this one.
Yep, yep. It's just, you're just creating surprises, which is great.
Yeah, you don't really know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, uh-huh, great.
And then you can blend the lines.
Mhm.
Sometimes I think it's terrifying to put like a dark color, but using a dark wax, it can be very empowering. And I do really like the contrast of the layers. Like I like the
Mhm,
light and the dark.
mhm.
I
Yeah,
just think that the
yeah.
pop is nice.
Mhm,
When
mhm.
I've been looking at my work to get a little grouping together, and I'm sort of enjoying these parts of the layering where there's definitely something, black and white
Yeah,
or
yeah.
blue and orange, where things are really popping forward on top of other layers.
Mhm, mhm.
And
Great.
and you
Mhm,
see how I took it out? Like this is a
mhm.
really cool texture here. So this is all made with the iron.
Wow,
That
yeah.
was just by swiping this
Wiping,
way.
okay. Very nice.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Well, I'm okay. Well, I got the wrong iron, but so I feel it's a setback, but this is so helpful.
I don't think it's a
Um,
set. I don't think it's a setback. I mean, you're welcome to keep. How much was that iron? I just think you could get your money back and get the right iron.
I could,
This is the
you're
best one.
freezing.
This is the best iron.
Yeah, yeah, I will. I'll send that one back.
This is the one. I mean, it's made for encaustics. It was designed by I mean, this is the one you want. The green
Okay.
one. I think this is the one you'll be the happiest with. And it does have a handle. Mine just doesn't. I don't have. I have the handle. I just have to attach it.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, I don't have any problems using it. It's not hot on this part. It's not hurting
Okay.
me. And I'm just holding on to it with the dial.
Okay.
It's
Right.
not too hot.
Yeah. So I'm gonna just I'm gonna continue doing the little floral studies,
I
and then when I get
loved
higher.
one of the pieces you sent me. It's actually my favorite one of the ones that you sent me. I'm gonna pull it up.
There's one that I like the best, but I'm just curious to
Well,
see.
and the reason that I like it is the sort of that thing that I was just talking about really liking like sort of contrasty layers.
Mhm.
This
Mhm.
this one, I
Yeah,
love
I
this one,
like that a lot. Yeah.
and I like this one.
Yeah.
I like
Too.
the black and white. I like how you're thinking about background, subject
Mhm.
matter, foreground, so
Yeah.
that you can work back to those black and whites. I like these flowers.
Yeah.
It's going to give you a lot of line and
Mhm.
shape. There's a lot of things that you can paint here.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like the composition of them. It's
Yeah,
so
me too. I feel like the
yeah.
only thing I might suggest
Mhm.
is a little bit more open space. So,
More open space.
yeah,
Okay.
and um like, and you could even just think about like covering up like maybe you don't need all of this to be detailed. Like maybe something goes softer, like something goes under, right? So the weave, like, right, even though this is black and this is white, it's all drawing a lot of attention.
Yeah, right. It can get busy. I think what I noticed with the other ones, where I went ahead with the other ones, as I put more wax on, the detail starts fading out. So yeah.
Right, and this one, this one doesn't, this compositionally,
Yeah.
it needs, I mean, maybe it will get better when, as you layer it more, it just needs, there was something about the green one too.
That was
This, I like this one more than this one.
Yeah, I do too.
And I don't know why, but that the flowers in the background are sitting on the same level. They're not separating.
They're not going back. Yeah.
Right. So you could go, I would change the background color.
Yeah, go on.
No, I was thinking maybe change the background color to a light, like go over this green with another color, either with pigment sticks. Also, like the flowers, like this blue, it's all the same color blue. Like if there's one thing, like it needs to be, there needs to be more attention to each individual petal. And more development on the flowers. So, and also the weight, it to me, it's also about the weight. Like what we were just really enjoying, like about this, was that this is really, this is bare wood. There's really a physical space between here and here. You don't have any empty spaces. You don't have, you got to try to focus on, maybe you could actually carve deeper, like around, with, and try, really, I want you to use this tool, this palette knife. So you go around the outside edge of the flower and really remove some wax, heat it up with the heat gun, really remove it so that you have a differential, right? You have space differential between front and back. You have physical movement between forms and shapes.
Well, and you were saying change the background color. You mean the dark green background, or the yellow?
No, the dark green. I mean,
so
it's too solid. It needs to breathe, and light doesn't.
There's no light getting through.
It's just too solid. Like especially at the bottom, it's just too one color. But I think you're better off by actually carving it, heating it and carving it, scraping this green back. Than trying to add another color.
Yeah. There's a part of me that I don't even like, like, do I really want to spend more time? I want to get to the ones where I feel it was a break.
This one is more interesting to me.
Yeah.
Compositionally. And, again, though, like this green is beautiful, but it's not going to be all one color green. So in real, and it also needs maybe some carving like in here, just to lighten up the intensity of it and make it more. Also these flowers,
those are tissue paper.
I love them.
And I did just very pastel colors. I didn't even
so one suggestion for this one, do you see how you used yellow? You have yellow here. I feel like this flower needs a little bit of that yellow.
Do
you know what I'm saying? Not a lot, like one, it's just because in reality, in those beautiful moments of reality when the light's perfect, and so I see things bouncing around. So to me, like these guys, they're all like separate, they're all pretty, but they're so separate, they're not really in it together. Like this light blue needs to go over here. And this yellow needs to go a little bit in here, right? And like this pink needs to go a little bit like in here. Like you need to, everybody needs to feel part of the group and have a little bit of what the other guy has. And maybe do that first. And then let's look at it again before you mess around with the background. Because maybe the background could actually go a little bit darker. Like this gray could go into this green. Do you see that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And this gray here could go into this green a little bit around here. Pigment stick. I like this one a lot though.
I was doing it as a study, but it was also for a thank you card for somebody.
Yeah, I love it.
You'll just have to wait.
I love it. This one is not as good. I feel like this one, well, I mean, you could start painting and see what happens. I think this one's cool.
I like that one a
I
lot.
really like that one a lot.
Mhm.
And this one needs work, but this is my favorite.
Okay.
This is
Good.
my favorite. So
Me
yeah.
too. I agree.
Awesome.
So I think this is the last session that.
Oh, okay.
I think so. So,
Okay.
and I was going to suggest, partly because it's again, you've given me a lot to work with.
Yeah. Take a break and work.
What I was thinking is, why don't we take a break, we catch up with this, and let you kind of assimilate with your new job, because that's going to be.
It's going to take a month. It's going to be. Yeah, it's going to be. We'll see.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be.
So if I could once in a while, if I could. Let me give you pay you for the next set, but we'll you know, we won't do it right away. But then if I could email you once in a while, like, oh, you know, I have a question about the iron or something, you know, just simple emails.
We can do it anytime. I'm really not that busy, and I'm not going to be in my new work job until the end of the month. So
the end of the month.
I'm not going to be in my new job. This is a huge bureaucratic system.
Okay.
I don't think I'm going to be in there until at least the 21st or the end of the month. So if you want to work, let's take advantage. I mean, if you're willing to work in the next 4 weeks, I think we should go for it. I think we should go for it. And then maybe I'll get busy. But who knows?
And then my son they're expecting a baby, so I'll yeah, I know. So
where do they live?
They're in LA. So she's having a COVID baby. Oh my God.
Are you gonna go there?
Yeah, her mom's gonna go first, and then I'll probably be going more like mid-February, end of February.
Nice.
So,
yeah. Good. Anyway,
I want to do what I can. Thank you so much.
Of course. Awesome. All right. Well, get your iron, and yeah, I'll talk to you. We could work. We literally could work. If you want to take next week off, we could work the week after. Let me know. Okay, great.
Good. Okay.
Okay. Awesome. Bye. I'll send you the recording.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.